Yes, I thought I'd see you again. Welcome back to another Royal History Geeks video. It's Gareth here. Once again, we are looking at Lady Margaret Beaufort and her relationships with her husbands, and it's now time to look at the relationship with her third, technically it's fourth, but in all senses the matters, her third and final husband, Thomas Lord Stanley. So, Margaret marries Thomas Lord Stanley very quickly in 1471 after the death of her previous husband, Henry Stafford, who we believe she probably had some form of affection, if not love, for, which may have been unique in Margaret's marriages. So, Henry dies fighting for York. He probably does that to make sure that whatever happens to him, his wife is going to be fairly secure in whoever wins that final battle of the Wars of the Roses proper. If Lancaster wins, Margaret's safe. She's a Lancastrian through and through. If York win, well, at least she knows that her husband fought for York. At least they know that he fought for the winning side, and perhaps then she'll be offered safety and offered protection and offered security. However, Margaret knows that her card is marked. She's a Lancastrian by birth. She's shown in the readaptation of Henry VI on the throne of England. She's shown herself to be an enthusiastic Lancastrian. Again, York is back in power. She needs to make amends. She's a pragmatist. She needs to be in with the new dynasty. At this stage, Margaret was not thinking that her son, Henry Tudor, would ever become King of England. There's a lot about that in historical fiction. I think it's incredibly unlikely. Her son had gone into exile, and I think what she was hoping for more than anything else is that he would be reconciled to the king, that he'd be restored to the earldom of Richmond, he'd be given lands to live and prosper on, and be welcomed back into England. That now becomes her mission. She needs an ally at the Yorkist court. Thomas Stanley is the perfect candidate. He's a powerful landowner in the north of England, so whoever's in power has to get on with him. He's got a good history with the Yorkist dynasty, although he's done his best to stay out of trouble by not taking sides in the Wars of the Roses. He's a calculated man. He's not necessarily a man of great passion or great loyalty. He does what is best for him and his family, and he isn't too proud about marking his card in the appropriate way that's going to get him as far as he possibly can in life. We might see that as a slightly unattractive character. To be honest, it's probably how you survive and flourish in medieval England, so perhaps we shouldn't think too harshly of it. He agrees to the marriage with Margaret. She brings a lot to the table, there's no doubt about that. She's got a great name. She's a Beaufort. It's a prestigious name. She's a descendant of Edward III. She's got royal blood flowing through her veins, and of course she's got a great and mighty fortune of her own. Not that he's short of money, but their combined fortunes make for a very impressive force indeed. From the start, it looks like their marriage was very much a marriage of convenience. All Margaret's marriages were marriages of convenience. Arguably, the first one was convenient for somebody else. The second two very much are convenient for her and convenient to the spouse that she ends up marrying. But there's something particularly business orientated about Margaret and Stanley's union. It seems as if they've been very prescriptive in who gets what of each other's cash, and that they have been quick to be relatively brutal about their assets and then how that would all be managed in their union as man and wife. Of course, in 1985, with the help of the Stanleys, when Margaret's son Henry Tudor does manage to seize the throne and become Henry VII, we see almost immediately a slight distancing of Margaret and Stanley. Parliament passed a law meaning that she can own property in her own right. She can act like a widow would be able to act in terms of suing people for the repayment of debt, in managing her estates. They still reassert the marriage contract. Stanley still gets money from her lands, particularly the lands he would have had a right to when he married her. So he's not been shortchanged in that sense. But the new lands she gets, that's all hers. She can do with that what she likes. And that is a real indication that perhaps they weren't exactly heart and soul for each other. They then seem to spend quite a bit of time apart. Margaret's almost presented a bit as a single figure, and as part of a kind of double act with her son, or at least part of a kind of triangular relationship with her son and with the Queen Elizabeth of York, all of whom actually get on quite well together, I think. And Stanley's really off the picture, which isn't to say that he isn't honoured and isn't present at court, but Margaret appears almost as if she's moving now in her own right. That might tell us something about how strong the marriage was. It might not. We don't know. We can't assume too much. A little bit later on, Margaret actually goes as far as to taking a vow of chastity. He, with her permission as her husband, he needs to give permission for that. Perhaps the fact he gave it suggests their relationship was never one of physical passion, or at least if it ever was, it was one that has subsided by then. They are, by the standards of the day, an older couple at this stage. We don't know, but it's probably the case that theirs was a marriage of convenience that never became more than that. With Edmund Tudor, she was too young, really, to know what her feelings were, and probably was so traumatised she never fully wanted to examine what they might have been. With Henry Stafford, it was a relationship that begun as a marriage of convenience. It probably bloomed to affection, maybe even love. With Thomas Lord Stanley, they both got what they needed out of it. Whether it was anything more than that, I'd be very surprised. That's my take on it. Good to see what you would all think. No doubt, if you're watching this, Facebook, Twitter, you can leave comments there. You can leave comments on the YouTube section. You leave comments on the blog itself. Do as you will. But join the conversation. I'll be back soon with some more Margaret Beaufort related discussion and chat. Thank you.